This is a Brooklyn-bound A train. The next stop is Grant Avenue. This is a Lefferts Boulevard-bound A train. The next stop is 88th Street. This is a Queens-bound A local train. The next stop is Hoyt Schermerhorn Street. This is a Rockaway Park-bound A train. The next and last stop is Rockaway Park. This is a World Trade Center-bound A local train. The next stop is Dyckman Street. This is a Utica Avenue-bound A local train. The next and last stop is Utica Avenue. This is a Broad Channel-bound A train. The next stop is Beach 60th Street. This is a 181st Street-bound A express train. The next and last stop is 181st Street. This is a Dyckman Street-bound A local train. The next stop is Chambers Street. This is a 168th Street-bound A local train via the F line. The next stop is 34th Street, Herald Square. This is a J Street Metrotech-bound A local train. The next and last stop is J Street Metrotech. This is a Brooklyn-bound A local train via the F line. The next stop is 23rd Street. This is a Norwood 205th Street-bound A train via the D line. The next and last stop is Norwood 205th Street. This is a 14th Street-bound A express train. The next stop is Chambers Street. This is a 145th Street-bound A local train. The next stop is 190th Street. This is a Rockaway Boulevard-bound A local train. The next stop is Aqueduct North Conduit. This is a Howard Beach JFK Airport bound A local train. The next stop is Beach 36th Street.
This is a 96th Street, 2nd Avenue bound A local train via the F line.
The next stop is 23rd Street.
This is a Brooklyn-bound B train via the Q line. The next stop is 86th Street.
This is a Brighton Beach-bound B express train.
The next stop is Newkirk Plaza.
This is a Manhattan-bound B train via the Q line.
The next stop is Canal Street.
This is a 145th Street-bound B train.
The next and last stop is
145th Street.
This is a 96th Street, 2nd Avenue bound B express train. The next stop is West 4th Street.
This is a Manhattan-bound C local train. The next stop is Fulton Street. This is a Brooklyn-bound C local train. The next stop is 116th Street. This is a Euclid Avenue-bound C local train. The next stop is Shepherd Avenue. This is a Brooklyn-bound C express train. The next stop is 42nd Street, Port Authority Bus Terminal. This is a 168th Street-bound C train via the F line. The next stop is
7th Avenue, 53rd Street.
This is a Washington Heights 168th Street-bound C express train. The next stop is 125th Street. This is a Broadway Junction-bound C local train. The next stop is Shepherd Avenue.
This is a 145th Street-bound C
train via the F line. The next stop is Broadway, Lafayette Street.
This is a 161st Street, Yankee Stadium bound D local train. The next stop is Bay Parkway. This is a Queens-bound E train. The next stop is 23rd Street.
This is a Queens-bound E Express train.
The next stop is Court Square, 23rd Street.
This is a Queens-bound E local train
Via the 6th Avenue line.
The next stop is 5th Avenue, 53rd Street. This is a 179th Street bound E local train. The next stop is 75th Avenue.
This is a Lexington Avenue, 53rd Street bound E Express train.
The next stop is
42nd Street, Port Authority Bus Terminal.
This is a World Trade Center bound E train via the F line. The next stop is
47th, 50th Streets, Rockefeller Center.
This is the 34th Street Herald Square bound E train via the F line. The next stop is 42nd Street, Bryant Park. This is a Queens bound E train via the R line. The next stop is Lexington Avenue. This is a 2nd Avenue bound E train via the F line.
The next and last stop is 2nd Avenue.
This is a Whitehall Street bound E train via the R line. The next stop is City Hall.
This is a Queens-bound F train. The next stop is 2nd Avenue. This is a Queens-bound F train via the G line. The next stop is Fulton Street. This is a Manhattan-bound F local train via the E line. The next stop is Court Square, 23rd Street. This is a Brooklyn-bound F local train via the C line. The next stop is High Street. This is a Brooklyn-bound F local train via the E line. The next stop is 47th, 50th Streets, Rockefeller Center. This is a Brooklyn-bound F train
Via the N local line.
The next stop is
23rd Street.
This is a Manhattan-bound F train via the D local line. The next stop is Canal Street. This is a 2nd Avenue-bound F local train. The next and last stop is 2nd Avenue. This is a J Street Metrotech-bound F local train. The next and last stop is J Street Metrotech. This is a Parsons Boulevard-bound F local train. The next stop is Briarwood.
This is a Lexington Avenue, 63rd Street bound F shuttle train.
The next and last stop is Lexington Avenue, 63rd Street.
This is a 21st Street Queensbridge bound F shuttle train.
The next and last stop is 21st Street, Queensbridge. This is an Avenue X bound F local train. The next stop is 4th Avenue, 9th Street.
This is a Bedford Nostrand Avenue bound
F train. The next stop is Classen Avenue. This is a Delancey Street, Essex Street bound F local train. The next stop is 2nd Avenue.
This is a Manhattan-bound F train via the A line.
The next stop is Utica Avenue. This is a Broadway Lafayette Street bound F local train. The next stop is Lexington Avenue, 63rd Street.
This is a Coney Island Stillwell Avenue bound F train via the D local line.
The next stop is 79th Street. This is a Long Island City Court Square bound F train. The next and last stop is Court Square. This is a Jamaica Center Parsons Archer bound F train via the E line. The next and last stop is Jamaica Center, Parsons Archer.
This is a Queens-bound G train. The next stop is Bergen Street.
This is a Queens-bound G Express train.
The next stop is Smith 9th Street.
This is a Brooklyn-bound G train.
The next stop is Greenpoint Avenue. This is a Court Square bound G train. The next and last stop is Court Square.
This is a Church Avenue bound G train.
The next stop is Carroll Street.
This is a Church Avenue bound G express train. The next stop is 7th Avenue. This is a Nassau Avenue bound G local train.
The next and last stop is
Nassau Avenue. This is a Hoyt
Skirmahorn Street.
bound G train. The next stop is Clinton Washington Avenues. This is a Bedford Nostrand Avenues bound G local train. The next stop is Clinton Washington Avenues. This is a Queens bound J train. The next stop is Kosciuszko Street. This is a Manhattan bound J train. The next stop is Cleveland Street. This is a Brooklyn bound J express train. The next stop is 104th Street. This is a Brooklyn bound J skip stop train. The next stop is Marcy Avenue.
This is a Jamaica Center bound J skip stop train.
The next stop is
Sutphin Boulevard, JFK Airport.
This is a Broad Street bound J train. The next stop is Bowery. This is a Broadway Junction bound J local train. The next stop is Halsey Street. This is an Essex Street bound J local train. The next stop is Bowery. This is a Queens bound J local train. The next stop is Myrtle Avenue, Broadway. This is a Marcy Avenue bound J local train.
the next stop is
Hughes Street. This is a Hughes Street bound J local train. The next stop is Cleveland Street. This is a Prospect Park bound J train via the M line. The next stop is 7th Avenue. This is a Brooklyn bound L train. The next stop is 1st Avenue. This is a Manhattan bound L train. The next stop is 1st Avenue. This is an 8th Avenue bound L train. The next stop is 3rd Avenue. This is a Rockaway Parkway bound L train. The next stop is Graham Avenue. This is a Myrtle Wyckoff Avenue bound L train. The next stop is Metropolitan Avenue, Lorimer Street. This is a Broadway Junction bound L train. The next stop is Metropolitan Avenue, Lorimer Street.
This is a Lorimer Street, Metropolitan Avenue bound L train.
the next and last stop is
Metropolitan Avenue, Lorimer Street. This is an Atlantic Avenue bound L train.
the next and last stop is
Atlantic Avenue. This is a Queens bound M express train. The next stop is
47th 50th Streets, Rockefeller Center.
This is a Queens-bound M train via the E line.
The next stop is West 4th Street.
This is a Queens-bound M train via the F line. The next stop is
21st Street, Queensbridge.
This is a Manhattan-bound M local train. The next stop is Knickerbocker Avenue. This is a Manhattan-bound M train via the F line. The next stop is
Roosevelt Island.
This is a Manhattan-bound M train via the J line. The next stop is Marcy Avenue.
This is a Middle Village Metropolitan Avenue bound M local train.
The next stop is
Fresh Pond Road. This is a Forest Hills 71st Avenue bound M express train.
the next stop is
Jackson Heights, Roosevelt Avenue.
This is a 57th Street, 6th Avenue bound M local train. The next stop is 42nd Street, Bryant Park.
This is a Chamber Street bound M train via the J line. The next stop is Canal Street. This is a Broad Street bound M train via the J line. The next stop is Bowery. This is a 2nd Avenue bound M local train.
The next and last stop is 2nd Avenue.
This is a West 4th Street bound M train.
The next and last stop is
West 4th Street. This is a West 4th Street, Washington Square bound M train.
the next stop is
42nd Street, Bryant Park. This is a Broadway Junction bound M local train.
the next stop is
Myrtle Avenue, Broadway. This is a Jamaica 179th Street bound M express train.
the next stop is
Forest Hills, 71st Avenue. This is a Jamaica 179th Street bound M train via the F line.
the next stop is
Parsons Boulevard.
This is a Manhattan-bound N train.
The next stop is Broadway. This is a Manhattan-bound N local train. The next stop is 18th Avenue. This is a Manhattan-bound N express train. The next stop is Astoria Boulevard. This is a Brooklyn-bound N express train. The next stop is 5th Avenue, 59th Street. This is a Brooklyn-bound N train via the 2nd Avenue line. The next stop is 86th Street. This is an 86th Street bound N local train. The next stop is Bay Parkway. This is a Coney Island bound N train. The next stop is 59th Street. This is a Manhattan-bound Q local train. The next stop is Brighton Beach. This is a Brooklyn-bound Q local train. The next stop is 72nd Street.
This is a Manhattan-bound Q express train.
The next stop is
14th Street, Union Square.
This is a Brooklyn-bound Q express train. The next stop is 34th Street, Herald Square. This is a Manhattan-bound Q train via the R line. The next stop is
J Street Metrotech.
This is a Brooklyn-bound Q train via the R line. The next stop is Canal Street. This is a 96th Street, 2nd Avenue bound Q train via the R line. The next stop is Rector Street. This is a Coney Island bound Q local train. The next stop is DeKalb Avenue. This is a Coney Island bound Q express train.
The next stop is
7th Avenue. This is an Atlantic Avenue Pacific Street bound Q train.
the next and last stop is Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center.
This is a Brighton Beach bound Q local train. The next stop is
Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center. This is a Coney Island Stillwell Avenue bound Q train via the N line.
The next stop is 8th Avenue. This is a Coney Island Stillwell Avenue bound Q train via the R line. The next stop is Prospect Avenue.
This is a Sheepshead Bay bound Q local train.
The next stop is
Kings Highway.
This is a 9th Avenue bound Q train
Via the R line.
The next stop is Atlantic Avenue Barclays Center.
This is a 34th Street Herald Square bound Q local train.
The next stop is
Times Square, 42nd Street.
This is a Queens bound R local train. The next stop is Queens Plaza. This is a Queens-bound R train via the E line. The next stop is 5th Avenue, 53rd Street. This is a Manhattan-bound R express train.
The next stop is
36th Street. This is a Manhattan-bound R train via the B line. The next stop is Grand Street. This is a Manhattan-bound R train via the F line. The next stop is 21st Street, Queensbridge.
This is a Manhattan-bound R train via the Q line. The next stop is Canal Street.
This is a Manhattan-bound R train via the V line. The next stop is
Court Square, 23rd Street.
This is a Brooklyn-bound R express train. The next stop is Cortlandt Street. This is a Brooklyn-bound R train via the F line. The next stop is 57th Street. This is a Brooklyn-bound R train via the N line. The next stop is West 4th Street, Washington Square. This is a Brooklyn-bound R train via the Q line. The next stop is Canal Street. This is a Bay Ridge 95th Street bound R train. The next stop is 36th Street. This is a Forest Hills 71st Avenue bound R local train. The next stop is Elmhurst Avenue. This is a Jackson Heights Roosevelt Avenue bound R local train.
The next and last stop is
Jackson Heights Roosevelt Avenue. This is a 96th Street 2nd Avenue bound R train.
The next and last stop is
96th Street. This is a 36th Street bound R train. The next stop is
Atlantic Avenue, Barclays Center.
This is a 9th Avenue bound R train via the D line.
The next and last stop is
9th Avenue. This is a Bay Parkway bound R train. The next stop is DeKalb Avenue. This is a Forest Hills 71st Avenue bound R express train. The next stop is Jackson Heights Roosevelt Avenue.
This is a broad channel-bound shuttle train. The next stop is Beach 105th Street. This is a Rockaway Park, Beach 116th Street bound shuttle train. The next stop is Howard Beach, JFK. This is a Far Rockaway, Mott Avenue bound shuttle train. The next stop is Beach 105th Street. This is a Rockaway Boulevard bound shuttle train. The next and last stop is
Rockaway Boulevard.
This is a Euclid Avenue bound shuttle train. The next stop is Rockaway Boulevard. This is a Lefferts Boulevard bound shuttle train. The next stop is 80th Street. This is a Beach 67th Street bound shuttle train. The next stop is Beach 98th Street.
This is a Lexington Avenue, 63rd Street bound shuttle train.
The next and last stop is
Lexington Avenue, 63rd Street.
This is a 21st Street Queensbridge bound shuttle train.
The next and last stop is
21st Street, Queensbridge.
This is a Queens-bound V local train. The next stop is Broadway, Lafayette Street.
This is a Manhattan-bound V local train. The next stop is 67th Avenue. This is a Jamaica Center Parsons Boulevard bound V train via the J local line. The next stop is Sutphin Boulevard, JFK. This is a Queens-bound W local train. The next stop is Queensboro Plaza. This is a Manhattan-bound W local train. The next stop is Prospect Avenue. This is a Brooklyn-bound W local train. The next stop is Fifth Avenue, 59th Street. This is a Ditmars Boulevard-bound W local train. The next stop is 30th Avenue. This is a 86th Street-bound W local train.
The next and last stop is
Gravesend, 86th Street.
This is a 34th Street Herald Square bound W local train. The next and last stop is 34th Street Herald Square.
This is a Queens-bound Z local train. The next stop is Gates Avenue. This is a Manhattan-bound Z local train.
the next stop is
Crescent Street. This is a Brooklyn-bound Z local train. The next stop is Woodhaven Boulevard. This is a Jamaica Center-bound Z local train. The next stop is 104th Street.
This is a Broad Street-bound Z local train. The next stop is Bowery.
This is a Queens-bound Z skip stop train. The next stop is Alabama Avenue. This is a Manhattan-bound Z skip stop train. The next stop is Norwood Avenue. This is a Brooklyn-bound Z skip stop train. The next stop is Bowery. This is a Jamaica Center-bound Z skip stop train.
the next stop is
104th Street.